Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome back into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have a banger for you today? Sorry if that clap for our audio listeners was a little too loud. I wasn't expecting it to clap that loud, but I was practicing it all week, and I think I got it out. So hopefully it didn't pop your ears or anything. But ladies and gentlemen, we have got a banger for you today. We are here to talk about the results that happened this past weekend against that big game against the Packers. What went down? Libre is going to come in here and tell us what the feeling was at Mile High, all the good, the bad, and the Baki, as we like to say around here. Plus, we're going to look forward to the next upcoming big game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Plus, we have a very special announcement at the end of the show. So please make sure you tune in. You don't get up and leave early. So please make sure you have your food ready, your beer cold, and you're comfortable as hell because you're not going to want to miss a single moment of today's show. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, get ready because here we go.
Broncos Talk, let's rock, feel the energy rise. From the microphone to the fans reaching the skies. Every episode a thrill, a surprise. For the love of the game, we harmonize.
And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction you're watching, is my best friend, the one, the only, the incredible Bronco Libre.
What's happening? 11 games in a row. How we doing, Broncos country? Let's go.
You see how we got that transition right? Like as soon as just before I finished my sentence, you jumped in. So there was no gap. That was perfect, bro. That was perfect.
I know. We've been practicing it all week, all day.
Johnny, if you're watching this, you got to clip that and send it to everybody on the other shows because we all need to be in unison just like that. No practice, straight up fandom from the get-go. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason Libre and I are so hyped up is because of just everything that happened, not just this past weekend, but everything that has happened since, I want to say, as far as the draft last year, Libre. I mean, just when you thought that people were writing this team down, that they were questioning the head coaching positions, the management issues, the player acquisitions, free agency, all that stuff, every single thing that the Broncos have had to deal with since Bo Nix came into town, at this point in time, seems to have all worked out. So we're going to talk about all that, plus the upcoming matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars at the second part of today's show, as well as Broncos overtime with a very special announcement at the end of the show. So please make sure you do not miss that announcement. But before we start every show, got to get a couple of things out of the way first, as we do every show. So if this is your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back. Libre and I would like to first please ask you for your support here on the Orange and Blue Network. If you could subscribe, share, comment, and like on this and all the previous videos here on the Orange and Blue Network. If there's something you heard us say that you don't agree with, and you're not able to share with us here live on the show, no problem. Feel free to hit up a comment, and Libre and I or somebody on the network will get back and answer to you ASAP, as well as showing support for the network and all the other shows here on Orange and Blue Network as well. For our audio listeners, please, if you're not able to join us again and you're listening, it doesn't matter what platform you're listening. 5-star reviews are always well appreciated. If what'd I do? No, that's not it. Yeah, okay. I clicked out of it. 5-star reviews are always well appreciated. You can send it to our socials. Our Twitter handles are right there at the bottom of the screen. If you can't see them, my Twitter handle is at a 6'10" Mexican, and Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. Ladies and gentlemen, today's show is sponsored by W. If you don't know what W is, it's basically got no sugar, calories, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. formulated with nothing but amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, including their patented neurofactor formula, which comes from the caffeine that's derived directly from the coffee fruit. W comes in so many delicious flavors. And just to show you how awesome they are, the guys over at the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast as well want to hook you guys up if you use the code OBN10 to get 10% off your order at checkout. Again, that code is OBN10 to get 10% off your order at checkout with all of your favorite W flavors and products. Shout out to the guys over at Nothing's Wrong With for hooking us up with this code, as well as W for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming down to the end of the season and getting ready for the postseason with the Denver Broncos. So please make sure you do not miss a single moment here on the network. In case you're new here and you don't know what's going on, I'm going to break it down for you, the show schedule going forward, especially going into next year. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep in mind that all the times that I'm going to mention here are in Mountain Time. So if you don't know, please Google it and whatever is closest time in your local area. So first of all, we have the Orange and Blue Blitz, which airs every Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. Then we have the Broncos Bros every Monday at 7 p.m. because you got a Bronco, bro, you know what I'm saying? Then we have the flagship show, Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue, every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. On Wednesdays, we split with the Mile High Symposium. For those of you that are Nuggets and Rockies fans, as well as Broncos fans, they got you covered with all Colorado sports at 2:30 p.m. They go on just before we do at 6. And then on Thursdays, we have the Mile High Outcast that air every Thursday at 7. Then on Fridays, we have the only Spanish Broncos podcast in, I want to say all of Broncos country, but I could be wrong. But definitely here in the Orange and Blue Network, which is Viva Los Broncos, which is hosted by Libre and myself as well. It's just us in front of this camera, in front of a microphone in a different language. But everything is still all Broncos and all fandom 100%. Also, we have the pregame show, which is the Get Buck pregame show that airs 1 hour before the game starts, with all the guys coming down and breaking down all the up-to-date news, injuries, updates, and all that good stuff before the game. And then in case you're not able to watch the actual game and you have it, playing in the background because you're busy doing stuff, then the guys got you covered too with the Bucking Booth play-by-play, where the guys literally tell you every single play that goes down so you never miss any of the action. And then, of course, at the end of the game, regardless of the result, we have the Buck Your Feelings post-game show where the guys break down everything that happened into the game, give their thoughts, and as well as look forward to the next upcoming matchup.
Woo! Dang. You do that so well.
Right away, Libre, with your cousin saying, "What's up, Broncos country? Let's go AFC West in our sights now." Woo!
Woo! Just like Ric Flair said.
Nature boy.
But one thing on that comment right there, we need two things to definitely happen this weekend. We need a Broncos victory over the Jags, and we need the Cowboys to win over the Chargers. And if that can happen, the West is ours. There's nothing that the Chargers can do to actually take over that. And then also, I feel like if we have the Patriots, they lose this weekend, we'll have the number 1 overall pick or the number 1 seed as well.
I agree too. I mean, it was fantastic. But Libre, you got to tell us, as we like to start off every single show, how was it at Mile High? Now, we were talking about this a little bit before the start of the show, and we heard it here outside of Mile High. People chanting "Go Pack Go." Thankfully, Libre, it wasn't where it was like taking over the entire stadium like they were if they were at home, but it was close enough where you can slightly pick it off. You just kind of had to wait in between the announcers talking and you can kind of hear it. So I'm pretty sure you being there, it had to have been pretty loud and obnoxious, of course. But aside from that, what was the energy? What was the feeling? What was going on at Mile High that we didn't get to see on camera?
The tailgates, that's where you start off the day. The tailgate, overall in general, the tailgate was pretty good. I don't know, this year has been pretty weird on tailgates where they come in slow, but then right around 11:30ish, 12, it starts popping off. Everything's there. And it's the same thing that happened with this game. But this time, like the Giants game, there's quite a bit of Packers fans. I didn't know the Giants fans traveled that well, but we already knew that Packers fans did. So starting off there, the vibe was already good. you know what's funny? I was even telling my son too during the game. I was like, I felt so relaxed during the tailgate. I was like, man, I don't know, but for some reason, I just feel relaxed. I'm not worried about anything on this game. We just have to go out there. What we do in the stands is go out there, cheer on our team, and then hopefully the Broncos go out there and do the same thing on the field. And day in, week out, that's what we've been doing and so forth. But the vibe is there. You can tell, like the intensity inside the stadium itself. You could tell it was a playoff atmosphere. This was like the you know how the national narrative, this is the game that the Broncos have to come in and win to see where they're truly at. Well, they've been doing this all season long. The way that they won, we were down 9 points at one point there late in the second half, and we come back and we still won the game. This is nothing new for the Broncos country. This is what we've seen week in, week out. But that fail, what are they going to say now? I've already seen some things like the Packers are now already starting to trend down because they're having to play the Bears this weekend. So, and that's going to be a tough game for them. That's a divisional game. That's for the first overall spot in the North. So I don't know if we help the Bears out, the orange and blue, hopefully back-to-back orange and blue, that they are not going to be able to do anything with it. That's just for the people in Chicago. But here in the Broncos country, we have to just take care of business. The atmosphere is already there. You could feel it in the stadium. Even though they were in there saying, go Pack, go. All I kept on hearing, though, is go back home. Go back home. That's all that you heard. And I think that's what you were hearing on the TV when you were able to, because that's where we were yelling that back to them as well.
I got to say, Libre, it sucks having to sit there. Well, it sucked. Let me just say, having to sit there and watch. Words are hard. Watch Josh Jacobs do what Josh Jacobs has been doing to us for the longest.
And that's the problem. Yeah, he just does that.
I have never seen Dre Greenlaw in coverage, or maybe I didn't pay attention. And I don't blame him for that, because the fact that Josh Jacobs caught that, I mean.
But that's the thing is he's and it was said prior to this game as well, is that he's going to have a good game because he just plays well against us. Yeah. I don't know what it is if we can't just have a good game plan on him, or he just has figured out, all right, I'm playing Denver and I know that I can go run wild. And that's what he did. And, and that's one thing, especially when he had that long touchdown run. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, not even touched. I go, how is this even possible that he just did that to us?
On that run, Libre, not to cut you off, that one I will blame Alex Singleton, because Singleton should have, if he stayed where he was, he stops him. But for some reason, he tried.
But again, like this, our defense is being aggressive, which I like to see. So I don't blame, yes, we blame Alex Singleton for doing what he did, and that's what created that long touchdown run. But I love to see that aggressiveness from our defense, because when you go back on film, if you have another defense or another running back that's going to be doing the same exact thing, trust me, they're not going to get past them.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, when you have a hole that big, I can't believe he got fooled by Josh Jacobs, thinking that Jacobs was going to try to run through, what was that, the A gap? Yeah. Seeing that it was completely filled. And he doesn't even have to go through that, because even if Jacobs gets past there, I think Hufanga was still on that side. So that way Hufanga didn't have to run halfway across the field like he did. But the fact that he bit, that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm like, that's what happens to a rookie linebacker. If he was a rookie, hey, you know what? He got you, veteran. It is what it is. But the fact that Singleton bit, and if you watch it in slow motion, you can kind of see the reaction on his face. He was like, man,
yep,
he got my head, and it's just we cannot do this. If we keep letting Josh Jacobs, and this was just my prediction going into it, and I don't know if you've seen my, I think there was one game this year where I don't do it, but usually every single halftime, I always put up bulletin points at every halftime. And I want to say that somebody on the Broncos organization, maybe Sean Payton or his assistant, ran up to him and said, hey, look, this guy's got some bulletin points. If we do this, this is how we're going to win the game. Because half of those points, I want to say, if not all of them, and Chad, if you follow me, if you've seen them, feel free to chime in. They actually did. Like that opening drive, that Patrick Surtain interception was beautiful. And I hate that I had to watch it on TV and you got to see it live. But hopefully you were
sight of
watching the stream.
beauty. It was sight of beauty just seeing that. And of course, I think that was really the turning point for the game. It was that interception right there. It sucked that Watson had to exit the game after that, because I don't want to see those type of injuries or whatever. But, just seeing that, and I was like, at first I thought PS2 landed on him after the pick, but then after watching the replay, because they showed the replay several times, and I was like, dang, PS2 didn't even land on him. It was just more of the side, and it's just weird how everything happened with him. I'm just glad that he's okay. Everything's good with him and all that. And then talking about injuries, watching Micah Parsons, going out on the game. And you could tell, like, our field, and I was looking at our field compared to other fields over the weekend. Our field held up pretty well. Like, our field looked really nice. I know it was just replaced a couple weeks ago, but seeing that injury, him tearing up his ACL on our field, is like, doesn't matter if you have a good field or not. An ACL is going to go whenever it's ready to go. So,
and let me just say this sidebar, and then we'll jump back into the topic. Speaking of ACL tears, I know a lot of people, and I saw it on social media. As Broncos fans, we hate Chiefs fans, obviously. Chargers and Raiders all go together, and they hate us. Again, you guys have heard me say it that plenty of times. But even with that being said, I don't like to see players, even division rivals, go down with injuries. So what happened to Patrick Mahomes, that was totally awful. And it kind of I always like to see our guys play their guys with the best of the best. That's what the NFL is. It's playing their 11 guys against our 11 guys. And it's supposed to be the best of best. Now, it's also a next man league. So if a player gets hurt, hey, that's also why preseason is so important, Libre. I was having this conversation with somebody earlier this week. Because they're like, oh, they should take away preseason. We don't need it. It doesn't count, blah, blah, blah. Preseason is where you build your backbone in case your stars get hurt. This point in time, as you heard us say here on the show, this is the worst time for players to get injured, especially those types of injuries. Now, the Chiefs kind of caught a break in the fact that they're out of the playoffs, so they don't have to worry about rushing Patrick Mahomes or working around Gardner Minshew and all that stuff. They're just going to sail by, and more than likely, to be honest with you, I know where this isn't the OT segment of the show yet, but don't be surprised if they lose against Tennessee on Sunday. But I don't like to see anybody get hurt, division rival or not. So, I know
true that
the show, but wish him a speedy recovery. Hope he comes back stronger and better in next year, because one thing that the Broncos haven't been able to do, Libre, is they haven't been able to sweep Patrick Mahomes. So in 2 weeks, they're going to play the Chiefs again, and I'm pretty sure they're going to beat them, no doubt, but it's not going to be with Mahomes. So that means that we're going to have to wait one more year for the Broncos to kick the Chiefs' ass with Patrick Mahomes at the helm. So I'm not saying it's not going to count. That loss is still going to be an L, just like it was last year. Okay. So, but I think that what's going on with this whole ACL and Micah Parsons and Patrick Mahomes hurting themselves, and I can't say it's a field issue, because the Broncos field is not like what we saw against the Commanders. The Commanders field was terrible. Okay. But I think it's something that the league should take into issue, because you heard Libre. I think Libre said it last week that the Broncos actually changed their grass. What is it, like every other game or so, or 2 games?
Not every other game. They do it once a year. They do it once a year. Yeah.
So, and they pay for that out of their own pocket, if I'm not mistaken. So
$400K.
Yeah. So they're taking care of it. And that to me is a really, really huge plus, because it's not just looking out for their own players, obviously, but they're also looking out for the other players as well. But going back to the Packers game, Libre, the beautiful thing about football and any sport in general, I guess you can make this argument, is that especially football, there's always two halves. And some of the time, if not most, we'll always get the same result. Most of the time, the way a game starts is the way the game ends. But the beautiful thing is that the really good teams, if they're down, they go into halftime. Coach's job is to rile them up and get things to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why people love the Super Bowl so much, because we've had Super Bowls where, you know, a team started bad, but they ended up finishing and winning the whole damn thing. And
making those adjustments.
Yeah, making those adjustments. And that victory makes it taste so much better. So as you were saying, the Broncos coming out after halftime and looking like a completely different team and looking like the Broncos was a thing of beauty. For me, though, Libre, I think the thing that I love the most about this game is seeing Bo Nix throw for 4 touchdowns. Now, I will say it still makes me nervous as hell, and I almost want to rip my pillow in half every time I see Bo Nix run out of the pocket. Sometimes he does that little Russell Wilson thing where he runs before trusting his pocket instead of stepping up. And when he throws off his back foot, same thing. That stuff still makes me nervous, Libre, because I can't see where the ball's going right away like you do. I have to wait for takes the camera 1.5 seconds to see where it's going. So that still makes me nervous. I still think he shouldn't throw off of his back foot because he's a much more accurate thrower, obviously, when he's planted and he sees where he's going. Mm-hmm. But to me, the fact that he was able, there were a couple close calls. Thankfully, the Packers had cheese on their hands where no interceptions were thrown, but 4 touchdowns against the Packers, one of the better teams in the league, Libre, I think has finally given us the respect that everybody has not been giving us, and where everybody's been calling the Broncos frauds for like the last 2 months.
But remember, we're now overdogs. So it doesn't matter what it is. We're overdogs now. So, and you know what's crazy? DMVR has already got a shirt out that says overdogs on it. It has the D and it has like a dog. What's up, Tim Dog? Let's go. But yeah, so the DMVR is already there. Metlock. You know what? Yes. I follow the guy on Twitter. His name is Chris Hathaway. And he's the head grounds crew person there at Mile High. And it's just nuts. He'll post out pictures and videos or whatever of him painting it, putting it on those glow lights. And it's really more during this part of the season when the sun is not out as long. So it's just like that artificial sun that they're putting in the grass. So late in the season, you see that it's a green grass. What's funny is like me and my son, because we were watching Hard Knocks last week, and they're featuring what division was it? The NFC East, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're at the practice facility, and their grass is all brown already. And it's like, damn, you're the Super Bowl champs and you're practicing right now on brown grass. But that's what I love about with our team, like in the owners, like they spare no expense in making sure that the facility is tip top shape, top organization part of it. And you see it from the top all the way down to the bottom to the tiniest little details of like those neon lights, the glow lights itself to help the grass get the nutrients that it needs to stay green.
You know what I like about the Mahai Outcast, Libre, when I watch them? And I know you're popular and everybody loves you in Denver, and they come up and ask you for autographs and stuff. But I think the people at Mahai Outcast, they love me more than you.
You know what? I want to see where you got that information, because whenever I see Tim Dog coming over to my tailgate, and he's bringing the familia, his daughters, I'm just saying,
hey,
his
I
daughters
know
love me probably more.
I'm going to get a shout out tomorrow on their show, so make sure you tune in. And it's probably going to be like fireworks and, a couple of horns and, that.
Well, it's going to be, yeah, you're watching Broncos Talk. We got Don, 6'10" Mexican, but we have Bronco Libre. And that's when you're going to hear it. So.
And a giant banner comes down. Oh, but no. But I think the more concerning thing, Libre, and I didn't even notice this until I saw PJ Locke out there. I didn't know that Brandon Jones got hurt with a pec.
Yeah.
Basically the same thing that happened to Patrick Surtain. So obviously this week he was put on IR with the Broncos. If they can secure the first seed, that means that we wouldn't see him until the divisional round.
Lie. That's a lie because it's 4 games. It's not that week.
Oh, that week doesn't count?
Yeah, because that's one thing I was thinking as well. And I saw something from Adam Scheffner posted out after they put him on IR, and it says 4 games.
Oh, so then it would benefit the Broncos to not get the number 1 seed and play the wild card.
Well, no, we can still have him out. PJ Locke is okay being out, I think. I think with, like how you said earlier, the next man up. And that has been showing, like right now, they have been doing the next man up, which I love about this team. When PS2 was out, they stepped up,
Well, the point I was going to make, Libre, is while I don't have anything against Locke. I think he does a good job. He's going to have some big shoes to fill in terms of, holding it down until Jones does come back. What are the chances that the Broncos, or maybe should they, give Justin Simmons a call and say, hey, you want to come play for us?
It's funny that you say that. On Altitude Sports, they were talking about that. They're like, call him up because he's not picked up anywhere. Hopefully he kept himself in shape. But again, I also feel that part of it was Sean Payton's decision not to resign him and let him go. And he's saying, you're not that type of guy for my defense over here. So I think that's going to be big part of it as well, is that you just don't fit the scheme that we're running.
I get that, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do, especially in the postseason. So if you have to make a deal with the devil, then I think it's worth the risk. Because
we'll see what could happen. Yeah. I agree with you on that part as well. Like, look at how they just brought back little Jordan Humphreys. That's like another, like a big deal. It's because he knew the offense. He knows what was going on. And yeah, I think it might be beneficial. It'd be a great fan favorite part of it as well, but can he still play? And, and that's really going to come down to it, because he didn't do much in Atlanta last year.
I don't think he did little to none. I mean, besides that game against Kansas City, where he keeps being the thorn on the side of Patrick Mahomes, which was a beautiful thing. I don't know, but I have confidence in Vance Joseph and what he does. Now, I will say that the Broncos defense starting out slow is something that we cannot afford going into the postseason, because I felt like that's what they did in this game. Like, they started off cold, and again, taken away from that Dre Greenlaw play. I wasn't expecting him to be in coverage, because Greenlaw to me isn't exactly a coverage. What's it, coverage or zone or coverage? Well, he was running behind Jones, so I want to say that was coverage. So that's not his specialty. But I mean, it is what it is. But the thing that kind of still, well, I don't want to say hurts, but I'm starting to see, Libre, that the Broncos have moved up on a lot of number 1 like ranking lists, except for one. There's only one that has the Rams over the Broncos, and I can understand that argument. You can make whatever you want, but at the end, I even send a Twitter note to that guy. I'm like, you put the Rams over the Broncos, but the Rams lost to the Panthers. So, and that was a team that the Rams should have crushed. If they would have lost to like the Lions or, one of those, a really, really good team, I'd go and agree with, like, well, that's them. But Carolina, like, that to me, I wouldn't be surprised if that knocked MVP talks out of Matthew Stafford, just for that simple fact. But seeing Denver get the respect that they so wholeheartedly deserved, and all they had to take was for them to beat the freaking Green Bay Packers. And again, Jordan Love he still cannot beat Bo Nix. Bo Nix is still undefeated against Jordan Love. That's a beautiful thing to see. And the fact that he was able to carve up that Green Bay defense, Libre, with Micah Parsons literally breathing down his neck for most of the game. I kind of thought that aside from Micah Parsons, I felt like their defense was kind of, they were kind of overinflated. They the analysts were like, "Oh, they're going to go in there and they're going to shut down everything." And I'll be honest with you, Libra, it did look bad at first because RJ Harvey, I can't remember the last time if Harvey before that ever fumbled, and it was not really the best way to start that game. And I can only imagine what would have happened if RJ Harvey didn't fumble. That probably could have been touchdown number 5 for Bo Nix.
No, you're right. But one thing, like I do say, yes, you have to give credit to where credit is due. Jordan Love is a good quarterback, and I could see why he was able to pick us apart. There's just good matchups that he just got, and he started to pick us away, like getting those big yards and so forth. But when you talk about playoffs, and it's been already said before, the Broncos have that advantage that nobody else in the league has, and we play at altitude. And you just have to keep on grinding and wearing them out until the second half. Because once that second half approaches, now they're gassed. Now they can't do much. And then the air is a lot thinner and you can't get much of it. So that's why it's imperative that we do get the number 1 spot overall. Because like you said, in the playoffs, that's going to be the huge advantage for us when going deep into these playoffs itself. So if we can do that, and I feel like this game right here with the way that Bo Nix played is a good staple of what we're going to be able to do going forward. And like I said during the Raider game, that we took advantage and we had 3 drives of 8+ minutes. We just wore them out. And that's what we did again on Sunday, is what we started to wear them out. And you started to see it a little bit more and more. And that's why we were able to score a lot more points late in the third and going into the fourth.
And Libre, this comment here by your cousin who says, also, that was not a PI on Moss and Franklin was not down. So
100%
you
correct.
were there. What was the reaction from the fans? Let's talk about the Franklin play first. What was the reaction from the fans when they saw the Franklin on the replay?
The thing is, we all, like, even though it was going away from me, it was going towards the south stands, but we could tell right away, like, he was like, no, his butt landed on top of the back of the Packers guy. I go, there's no way he was down unless his knee happened to graze a blade of grass or something like that. I go, there's no way. And then they started to show the replay. And I'm like, why couldn't, and then they called it down right away. They didn't let it go. They didn't let it play. And that's one thing I feel like some of these refs need to just, like, they've done it before with other plays. They just let it go. And then you go back and review to see if he was down or not. Mm-hmm. And that I can't believe, like, we can't challenge that. Like, that wasn't a challengeable call. Like, because it's clearly there. Why don't you go back to the assist? But again, it goes back to because they called it down and, the whistle's blown. And they're saying theoretically people are stopping and that's it and that's over, which is stupid because that was a touchdown. But you know what? We got it back on the very next play anyway. So it's like, that's a moot point. If we would have said they just stopped us and we got a field goal, then that would have been a different story where we, like, things are going to have to change with that aspect of that part. And with Moss's PI, that was like how Primo said, it's not a PI. Like, just because it's the narrative that they have on him this year, I feel like they go, he's holding, let's just go ahead and throw it. But the replays re-showed that again and again. And we're like, how is this even possible that there's even looking at it in real time and then going back and watching the replay of it? It's like, how in the hell could the ref really even call that a PI in the first place? That was one thing that still baffles me up until today.
I mean, when I saw the PI, it looks like what every cornerback in the league does. It wasn't something where Moss was like flipping him around or pulling him down or none of that. It was still, they were arm fighting. And to me, I feel like the refs are kind of not, they're guessing, because that's exactly what that felt. That felt more like a guess. And obviously, the refs are not going to call every time. Otherwise, a football game would probably be like 4 hours from all the penalty calls on both teams. But to kind of say what you said, they're piggybacking off. They're just kind of picking on Moss. And I have a feeling that, unfortunately, this is going to be something that a lot of teams going further, especially in the postseason, are going to do. They're just going to heave it to their wide receiver that's being covered by Moss because they're sure as hell not going to throw it towards Sertan unless that guy breaks wide open, and they're going to hope for some help from the refs. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But Mahai Medlock coming in saying if they call that PI, then you got to hold on Parsons against Ingram too.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That was blatant though. Like you
Mhm.
could see him holding his hand, preventing him from catching that ball. Like
Mhm.
that was something totally different. And I agree with you with that.
And that wasn't called.
And that was not called at all. But again, we still went down. We scored on that drive, and again, it's like, yes, it's that moment there. I saw it up on the 5th level when you see that, and like, how could you not hold? Like he wanted to hold his hand, and he did it
Mhm.
and got away with it.
I will say though, I got to give credit to my offensive line. I was worried about McGlinchey because every time I hear McGlinchey versus Parsons before Mike came to Denver, Libre, I don't know if you remember, there was a play in the postseason where McGlinchey was still a 49er, and Micah Parsons literally flipped him like a child over, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I hope that doesn't happen.
I don't remember that, and I'm surprised that I didn't see any of those like highlights come up this leading up to that game, showing that off. But I'm gonna have to look it up now after the show.
Yeah, but that was like, Jesus, Micah Parsons was the real deal, and it kind of made me get a second guess. Like, did Denver really? Would have been better off for them to have drafted Micah instead of Patrick Surtain, but thankfully I was wrong on that thought. And it didn't happen to fruition. Thank God we didn't get Justin Fields. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
like I had predicted, because I'm like Mel Kiper, but worse.
That's funny.
But let's shift gears a little bit now, Libre, and let's talk about the next big upcoming matchup, which is against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I told you just before the show that, yes, the Broncos have beaten Jacksonville. They have beaten Trevor Lawrence. They beat them last year in their international game in England. But this Jaguars team is obviously not the same as the one from last year. They're a little bit more formidable. Trevor Lawrence, I will give them credit. They did beat the Jets, but the Jets are the Jets, and the Jets can't beat the Jets if they played the Jets in Madden. Type of thing,
right?
And they didn't. Their coach is. I'll be surprised. I'd be surprised, actually. Let me rephrase that. I'd be surprised if they let him go, but I don't think so, because they made their defensive coordinator Stephen Wilkes the scapegoat, because it's his fault that the defense is terrible and they don't have a quarterback or a running game.
One thing that I found interesting after they had fired him, that I didn't know this. They do not have a single interception this year. And when I saw that, I was like, how is that even possible? Like that baffles me to think about that. And during the time they had Sauce, for the majority of the season, they had Sauce. I was like, how is that even possible? I would think that he would have at least 1 or 2 by then. And to hear that they have 0, I was like, wow, now I understand why they fired him. But again, that's not his fault. Their defense is not good.
Yeah, I agree. So Jacksonville did what they're supposed to do, and the next 3 teams the Jets play are probably going to do the exact same thing, follow step, because they're just in a bad place. And then the Titans, the Raiders, all those guys are in a Royal Rumble for the first round draft pick. And we'll see how that works out for them. And I feel sorry for whoever gets picked to go on that team. Let me just say that. But Jacksonville is definitely not going to come in here and lay down. They're going to play their butts off because they're trying to win their division, just like we're trying to secure the AFC West. However, I did say to you, Libre, that I feel that Jacksonville is going to come in a little bit overhyped on themselves and think that, or mistake the Broncos for the Jets and think that they're just going to come into Mile High and, run the gambit, so to speak. And they're not going to do that. I think that they're in for a rude awakening. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to struggle. And it's going to be, in order for him to beat that Broncos defense, him and his coach, Liam Cohen, are going to have to put on one hell of a game plan, because they are not. I know they had to have watched the highlights from the Packers game. And that was a Packers team that had Christian Watson before he went down, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
And an offense that first half, they looked like indomitable. And then Jordan Love regressed into Jordan Love, and he played terrible in that second half, and the Packers lost.
Well, not just only that, the Broncos D just stepped it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I look at it as well, going back to what they did this weekend by putting those, like, I call them sunshine from Remember the Titans, just because of his hair. But Trevor Lawrence did have one of his best games in his career where he accounted for 6 touchdowns, 5 passing and 1 rushing. So, and that's one thing that we're going to have to do very well, where Tufunga and Greenlaw are going to be able to have to mirror him and make sure that he doesn't get out and rush, because he's a good rushing quarterback. But I do feel like it's going to come to the point where it's in the second half again, where he's at sea level and he's coming up to altitude, and he's not going to be ready for that. Doesn't matter how much you prepare throughout the season. If you're at sea level, you need to be practicing out in Colorado Springs or somewhere where it's a little bit higher altitude right there. But you're not going to be able to come in here, and I feel, and do a complete game, just like you saw with Jordan Love. He struggled there at the end of the game. You got to remember, 6 of his picks, 2 of them came from us. So a third of his picks is from the Broncos.
Mm-hmm. I will say the wide receiver room for Jacksonville, it doesn't worry me, because I'm not comparing them to what the Cowboys have in Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, but they do have some familiarity with
we have Tim Patrick.
Tim Patrick, and then what's his name that got traded from Las Vegas?
Oh yeah.
But also Brian Thomas Jr. as well.
Yeah.
But so their wide receivers do worry me a little bit. And by what I mean by that is not so much that they would beat our cornerbacks in coverage, because they might be good, but they're not better than PS2. But kind of what we alluded to earlier about them passing, throwing it Riley Moss's direction and expecting a bailout from the refs. That's the thing that worries me, Libre, is the fact that they're going to do that. They're going to nitpick on Riley Moss and try to get him to, commit a foul and march down the field due to our errors. So hopefully I'm wrong in that regard. But my other question to you, Libre, is, are there Jacksonville Jaguar fans in Denver? Have you seen any Jaguars yet?
No. It's too cold for them here. But yeah, I have not, I don't even know, even the last year when we played, well, no, because I was in England, but the last time they were here in town, I don't even remember seeing any Jacksonville Jaguar fans, honestly. And if there are, there's just very few in between. But mentioning Jaguar fans and all that, this coming weekend, they're calling it a super fan meetup, but this is going to be for all Bronco fans, Jaguar fans, whoever's out there, at Holy Moly downtown at 1201 18th Street, Denver, Colorado 80202. They're doing a fan meetup, but they're also going to do for a Hope's Kid toy drive. So getting making sure that some of these kids that are not able to have a good Christmas, so that they can have a good Christmas itself through the Hope Kids toy drive itself. It's going to be the super fan from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Her name is Tally Jag. And then also Mile High Missy are the people that are going to be leading the charge on this. Definitely go on to my social medias. I'm going to be posting up the flyer that they just gave me earlier today. If you're unable to make it, if you're able to make a donations to that so that they can get go out there and buy gifts for these kids, it'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, but other than that, I know Tally Jag's going to be there at the game this weekend. But I think that's probably the only one I see, unless she's bringing friends.
I did see a video, Libre, that Miles and Miles Jr. are riding around Denver in an orange van. Did I see that right?
Yes, you did. I thought that was pretty cool when I saw that earlier today as well.
So are they just going around looking for fans? I didn't get to see the full video, unfortunately, because I was at work. But What is it that they're doing specifically? Do you know?
You know, honestly, I like just like you. I just saw that first little bit where Miles and Mini Miles was getting into the van,
Yeah.
and then I had to go to a meeting right away, and I forgot to go back and look at it.
Yeah. But I was like, I thought to myself, I'm like, man, if they drove past my job, I don't care how grown I am. I'm chasing that thing down because I want my
That's
picture
funny.
with Miles. I still feel robbed from 10 years ago when I was supposed to meet him and he never showed up.
That's because you didn't pay the appearance fee.
I was there, dude. I was there with bells on, and then they got snowed in Denver because I forgot that snow falls in Denver and they didn't make it. So,
You know what? And
unfortunately, I
that's
couldn't go to the
crazy.
game.
Now that you talk about snow, I was watching this React video earlier today too. It was a KC fan reacting to the Packers game when the Broncos. He goes, "Wait a minute, isn't the game in Denver? How come there's no snow? It looks like it's 85 degrees out there." I'm like, bro, it's like we get over 300 days of sunshine. It's not always snow here in Denver. It might be in the mountains, but actually in Denver, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, a lot of people play too much Madden, Libra. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. That fake snow on the ground, on the turf.
On the turf. That's why Denver has an open stadium. If it snowed as much as it does here, well, here in Chicago, we've actually gotten kind of lucky because the last couple of Decembers, I would say for the last 5 years, have been not warm, but not like cold. And we don't usually get snow until after New Year's. And then this year, it was just like, here you go. You know?
Well, like for us, our snowiest month here in Colorado is in March. So the way that it's been, like here it is now, like I feel like we're gonna get hit with a snowstorm in March as well. But again, there's already the only thing that you have to be concerned about is with Rockies and Avs. Not the Rockies, I mean the Avalanche and Avs. The Avalanche and the Nuggets. The words are hard. Teams are hard to know.
Libra, you got to stop drinking before the show, man.
I can't help it. With Casa Breck.
We're not sponsored, but we wouldn't mind one.
And with the Bronco logo, the whiskey.
Sponsor
Mile
us.
High Blend.
I'll have to have Libre send me a bottle or two. Hey, that's how I picture you at every tailgate, bro. I'm surprised you're able to find your seat.
You already know.
But I gotta give credit where credit is due, Libre. Liam Cohen has done a really good job with that Jaguars team.
Yeah.
And the fact that I think they're the front runners to win that division
South.
or in the running, they have to get through Houston, which is no easy task. Tennessee obviously is Tennessee. And the Colts, well, I mean, they're trying. I don't blame them for trying, but that giant gamble they took on getting Sauce Gardner is really starting to look like not a bad choice, but it's starting to come back to bite them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And to all the Colts fans who week 2, when I said see you guys in the playoffs, I may have misspoke because if this continues on, you guys are not going to make it to the playoffs.
We're talking about playoffs.
So a part of me wants to drive all the way to Indianapolis and stand outside the stadium and do a dance and ha 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 ha. But I will say though, I'm trying. You know, me and you have been talking about like this feels like a trap game. This feels like a trap game, and we've said it 11 times, and we've been wrong 11 times.
I think you've been saying it 11 times in a row. I have more confidence than you did.
Well, you probably do, but if I go down, I'm taking you with me, Libre. That we're a team.
Right?
And I don't want to say that this is a trap game because I don't think it is. Again, giving credit to the Jaguars where credit is due, which is fine. But with that being said, I don't think that they're at the level that the Broncos are at right now. If Bo Nix can continue to play football like we saw this past Sunday, where turnovers are not made. That one turnover wasn't him. It was RJ Harvey. And he's a rookie, so I forgive him already. But if he can play a clean game of football and limit the sidebar here, Libre. I don't know if you saw it, but there was one drive where they literally ran the exact same play twice. I think it was supposed to be a wide receiver screen to the left. They ran it again and it didn't work. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, why would you run the exact same play?
Again, why not? Sometimes it could
Oh,
work.
man.
They're not expecting it. It's possible it could have been a design.
I think they were expecting it because that was the one drive we didn't convert.
True.
It works in Madden because Madden usually runs a different. Well, if you're playing against the AI, online Madden against a human player, maybe. I don't know. I don't play online Madden because it's way out of my league.
I used to be good back in the day. And I'd always play my son in it, and I let him get like a 40-point lead, and then I'd start coming back and beat him. He goes, "How can you do that?" Now he's actually learned how to really play the game, and I know I can't do that now.
Hey, speaking of your son Libre, I wanted to ask you: is there a chance that your son is going to be Libre Junior?
Not Libre. He will not be Libre Junior, but he is going to be Hijo de Libre.
Hijo de Libre, like Hijo del Santo.
Yep.
Because I saw a video you posted of him, and I was like, I never thought about that. Like, is he going to be the next, like, follow in the whole mask and cape and everything?
You know what's funny too? Somebody asked him to. I don't know if it was this last weekend or when, if he was gonna do something similar. He goes, I probably won't do that. I need to probably get my own little thing and all that. I go, no, he's gonna be Hijo de Libre.
Bro, that should already be on a t-shirt, man. You should get ahead of that.
Right?
Because I would definitely buy a shirt like said Hijo de Libre.
Heck yeah.
Even though he is taller than you, which is kind of crazy. But
he's right there. We're like neck, like right there. My youngest son, though, he is taller than both of us.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I forget you have 2 kids.
Yeah. I know, same here.
But I think the good thing is that the Jaguars fans don't travel well, I want to say, because I think if they start breaking out Duval chants in Mile High, I think that would really hurt. Just like hearing Go Pack Go really hurt.
No, we're chanting, "Go back home."
Home, yeah.
Go back home.
But they tried. You got to give them credit for trying, Libre. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. Again, I don't know if I said this already, but Chicago Bears fans here, guys, want to say thank you to all the Broncos fans and players for doing them a huge favor. Not talking about Micah getting hurt. I'm talking about giving them the chance to even up the score because they got to play again this weekend here in Chicago. And I have a feeling, Libre, and we're almost close to that segment of the show, but I have a feeling that the luck is not going to favor the Packers like it did 2 weeks ago.
The last one, yeah. I was actually thinking because like I already have my thing written down with all my picks, so I only have 2 that I'm like still on the fence on what I want to do, but I don't think I want to change them. But here it is. Pause it, freeze it, screenshot it so you could see.
I want to shit.
But yeah,
I think the key to beating Jacksonville, Libre, is obviously the pass rush. I don't know, and this is actually a good point you brought up. You know, the one thing I keep hearing every time the announcers mention the pass rush, they always mention there's 4 guys on the front line, but they only mention 3 every time. Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, Nick Bonito.
You know who they're forgetting?
Never. Yeah, DJ Jones. So,
DJ Jones, or I'm going to tell you another one who's going to be a sleeper for this weekend, I feel like. Malcolm Roach.
Yeah. With John Franklin Meyer as an honorable mention as a pass rusher. But DJ Jones' name, you hardly ever never hear his name being mentioned. And I know me and you are on the fence about DJ Jones. I still think that the Broncos should have went out and got like a Jeffrey Simmons or somebody else. Not to say that DJ Jones is a bad player, but if even the announcers whose job is to hype up and credit and butter up the players, if his name wasn't written on a piece of paper on the back of his jersey, they probably wouldn't even know who he is. So,
But you know
I
what? That with that though as well, like when you have Jonathan Cooper, Nick Bonito, and Zach Allen, like those three main guys, who is consistently either getting to the quarterback really fast, or is breaking up, or and doing a tackle for loss for Zach Allen, or even getting with the sack. Like when they're doing it at an elite level, yeah, it tends to forget about that fourth guy that's there. And again, I also look at it as well. Is he doing so well that is he getting double teamed? Like I haven't gone back and actually looked at that aspect of it as well, why his name hasn't been called and so forth. Is he getting double teamed? But again, or is it because these guys are so elite and they're just getting to the backfield for a tackle for loss or getting the sack so fast that he has nothing to do because of how quick these guys are. So there's a lot of factors into it. You just have to go back and I guess and review the tape. You know, the coaches already know what he's capable of doing and all that because they see it in and out and they study that film a lot more for each individual guy so that they can say, all right, this is what you did this week. Let's go ahead and fix this, or you're doing good. Let's go ahead and perfect it even more for this upcoming game plan that we have going on. So again, I feel like because of the elite people that we have of those three that we just mentioned, is why his name is not being mentioned more.
But yeah, pass rush is definitely going to be the key to winning this game. On the defensive side, I have no question, no issue with the secondary. I think the secondary is going to have no problem locking down those wide receivers. Offensively, Libre, I want to say that running the ball is definitely going to be a priority here. It'll be interesting to see if we get Ben Powers back this game or if he's going to be a healthy scratch and, maybe they're going to keep him for the matchup against Kansas City, or if they just want to keep resting him and save him for the postseason. So we'll see how that injury report looks close to the end of the week before game time. But if the Broncos can, again, repeat what I said earlier, if they can keep putting up points, because if I'm not mistaken, Libre, the Broncos scored on more drives this time than they did punting the ball, which is something that we're normally used to on an opening drive. So that's what kind of worries me when the Broncos elect to start, And aside from that turnover, again, they just have to play clean football. Again, the penalties were not as numerous as they've been in previous games, so they kept that laundry pretty much clean, without it overflowing.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of good things, and this is another team that they cannot sleep on. And again, and my final point to you, Libre, don't take your foot off the pedal. Do not do that. If you get a cushy lead, do not, start playing softer coverage. Do not start putting in, unless it's a blowout. Blowout, different story. But other than that, do not let up. Do not give Jacksonville an inch because they will take a mile.
No, and you're right. But I feel like just as we have over the last several weeks, the run game for us right now is going to be the key here. We need to have RJ Harvey go out there. You know what? I know you fumbled the ball this last week, but you know what? Forget about that. We still won the game. It didn't cost us the game. It happened the first drive. And I'm glad that he was able to continue and actually be productive throughout the year. But that's going to be, like how you said, is the key to the game is this week is continue to run this ball, because that's how we're going to wear them out. And that's when we're going to take advantage. Like I mentioned, mile high altitude, and it's going to affect them in the second half.
D-Rock jumping in. D-Rock, we forgot to salute you, so that's my apology.
D-Rock, what's happening, bro?
Thank you so much for being here. He says, I absolutely love the defensive line works in tandem with the secondary. When the backside slows down, the first and second read just help the pass rush. And you were so right, D-Rock. And before I forget as well, Tim Dog said, you guys always have a flame emoji show about to eat my Chubby's smothered fries.
Ooh, boy. Hey, if you're local to Denver, it's smothered fries from Chubby's, and that's the only way to get them. When you come into town, Adon, we'll go to Chubby's and get some smothered fries. And then we might even throw some carne asada on it. So
I was about to say, dude, I'm only buying you one thing. It's either Chubby's smothered fries or tacos, bro.
Hey, you better bring your wallet. You better actually ask for an extra shift before you get here.
Pretty much, or I'm going to have to take out a loan to feed both you and me because I can eat business, But I appreciate you, Tim Dog. Thank you so much for the well wishes. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time. We have reached the end of regulation, which means it's time for Libre and I to go into some overtime.
Overtime.
Let's go. Listen to me. When I tell you guys that we're a bunch of silly ducks, that's exactly what we are. We're a bunch of silly ducks. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Broncos Talk Overtime. In case this is your first time here, this is the part of the show where Libre and I let down our hair figuratively, and we talk about anything going on in our lives, not particularly mostly related to with football during the off season. Anyway, during the regular season, we like to give our picks for the upcoming matchups just to kind of have a nice and friendly gentleman's competition. But I think I'm gonna have to not keep track of the points anymore because I think I may have messed up somewhere along the line. But Libre leads with 144 points. I trail with 140, and Chat is behind 131.
Whoop, whoop. I know. I
Um,
gamed the game on you over the weekend.
Yeah, there was a couple where it was just kind of like ping ponging, you know. So I
Yeah.
think this is the week where I'm going to catch up to Libre. I have to, otherwise, this whole thing was just a gigantic waste of time. So make sure you guys get your picks in the chat. We have no more bye weeks going forward, obviously, because we're down to the last 3 weeks of football. So, if without further ado, here we go. Libre, we got the Thursday night game. It's round 2 of a very, very big game, by the way, division game. The Los Angeles Rams at 11-3. Going on the road to face the Seattle Seahawks, who are also 11-3. Now, the Seahawks got a big, impressive win, field goal win by you against Grandpa Rivers, the Colts, and the Rams. I got to tell you, I don't always see my brother like stuck between a rock and a hard place, but he loves Matthew Stafford more than anything. He was happy he won a ring. He's happy with his time in Detroit. And, you know, while it hurt seeing his Lions lose, at least they went down swinging and they didn't get blown out, you know. So for those that don't remember, the Rams lost the first matchup against Seattle in Los Angeles, mind you. So that was pretty crazy. And I remember that because a lot of us in my football pool lost a crap ton of points. And I think that this is the game where the Rams win and they take back the division. I would be more confident to pick Seattle, but the way that they struggled against Indianapolis last week, Libre, it should not have come down to a field goal. Okay. Sam Darnold seems to kind of have lost his footing. He does not look as impressive as he did at the beginning of the season. And while the Seahawks defense to me is good, the offense they're not always going to win it that close. And against the Rams, Libre, I don't see them winning I don't see it coming down to a field goal, at least not that narrative like it did against Indianapolis. So I'm going to pick the Rams.
I agree with you as well. The Rams are playing just too well right now as well. Again, their loss earlier in the season was, again, it's an early game in the season. And they are hungry. They're a little bit better. You now know what type of team you are. Yes, the Seahawks have been doing good all year long. But when you lose to the Colts like that, you barely beat the Colts like that on a field goal fest, that right there alone, just like, do you have what it really takes? And this Ram defense is really good. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
And then for some reason, Libre, we have 2 Saturday games. I don't know why, but we
It's
have
that time of year.
Yeah, we have the first one, Philadelphia Eagles at 9-5 going on the road against the Washington Commanders at 4-10. Now, I will say the Commanders made me look dumb. I really wasn't expecting them to win last week. But I mean, I didn't realize I thought Jackson Dart was going to do just fine. You know, I know he doesn't have Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterbo, but the fact that he looked that vulnerable against the Commanders, that really, I don't know. Like they should have won that game, and it shouldn't have been that close. But the Eagles, they're coming off of a big win against the Raiders. Obviously, doing so, they shut the Raiders out. and I hope that the Raiders get shut out for the remainder of my lifetime. But again, they should have no problem beating the Commanders because the Eagles, on paper anyway, have a much better team. If the Commanders win this game, then the Eagles have a lot of problems going forward. And every Cowboys fan are going to be Commanders fans this weekend, at least for this game.
No, I agree.
The Eagles, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm picking the Eagles as well. I just don't see the Commanders continuing to do what they did. Yeah, that was a surprise as well, beating the Giants. But again, that's like for them, that's a divisional game, and you can't always take divisional games like if it's going to be a blowout or not, because you never know. But for this weekend, even though it's still a divisional game, it's still the Eagles are going to win this one.
Speaking of division games, Libre, the Green Bay Packers at 9-4-1, the team whose ass we handed to and sent them back to Green Bay, are going on the road, and they're coming to Chicago to play the Bears, who are 10-4. So we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago, Libre. The Packers without Micah Parsons. I know that defense it's not the worst, but Micah Parsons was what gave them that edge. That's why the Packers gave up what they gave up for him, not having him out there on that field. And they're dealing with a couple of other injuries too. I heard Quayshawn Walker, who I think is their linebacker or safety or somewhere in that position, is hurt, might not play. So I think this is where the Bears get the redemption. They did a good job making Cleveland's defense look almost not as invincible as it is. Shedeur Sanders struggled like I thought he would. But I think this is where the Bears even it up. So I'm going to say Chicago wins this game.
The Bears for me too.
La Ojo. What does chat say? Bears.
They said Bears.
Okay.
So again, just real quick, I just see that we have my friend Mile High Missy coming in onto the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And just to reiterate again, this weekend on let me pull it up real quick. On Saturday, she's hosting a super fan meetup. But again, any fans that are here in the Mile High City wants to go out to Holy Moly and to support her and the super fan from the Jaguars, Tally Jag, to help support Kids Hope Toy Drive. So please bring a brand new toy, cash, whatever you can help out if you're able to.
Let me just say, Mahai Missy, I don't know who gave you access to use my hat because that's my size. I want it back.
She's going to say, go get your own noggin.
Go get your own noggin. But hopefully you guys can make it out for that event. And shout out to Mahai Missy and everybody for doing something great for
Of course, Mile High Missy, I got your back.
Next, we move on to the Sunday games, Libre. The first one up is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7-7. Going on the road against Carolina Panthers, who are also 7-7. Talk about a division where nobody wants to freaking win, Libre. It was embarrassing seeing the Buccaneers lose last Thursday night on football. And Mike Evans was literally venting through everybody, even us who weren't Buccaneers fans, just for the simple fact that we picked the Bucs to win. And I'm pretty sure people lost parlays, they lost money, all that stuff. I don't get it, Libre. There's no excuse this time. Baker Mayfield had all his weapons. He had Bucky Irving. He had Mike Evans back. He had Chris Godwin, and
Mbuka, yeah.
Yes, I get it. The Tampa Bay defense is bad. It's not good. I'm pretty sure the defensive coordinators, I'm surprised he still has a job, to be honest with you. But they cannot do that. They cannot go, if they win this division and they go into the wild card, they're going to get bounced out if they keep playing like that. To lose to the New Orleans Saints, it's like, you just right? Or not the Saints. I'm sorry, the Falcons.
The Falcons,
the Falcons, and losing to Kirk Cousins, a guy who hasn't been relevant in like almost 2 years. It's not good.
But the Panthers lost to the Saints this weekend, though. So yeah. So
the Panthers is just like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of thing. It's like the teams that they're not supposed to beat, they beat, and the teams that they're supposed to beat, they
lose.
They lose. It's like Bryce Young turns back into a frog and he forgets how to play football. So I don't know what Dan Canellis is going to do. He's got to fix it. He's got to pick a lane. Either you're going to be terrible or you're going to be mediocre or you're going to be good. But you can't keep going back and forth and missing this. So I'm going to go with my gut And I'm going to say that the Bucks win this game. But if the Bucks lose one more time, they lose this game, I'm not picking Tampa Bay. I don't care who they play. They could play the Jets next week. Not picking them again. So I'm going to say Tampa Bay.
I am also going with Tampa Bay. I think Baker Mayfield is going to have a better game now that he has all his weapons back. And I need Mbuka to get 3 touchdowns for me to win my championships.
Ooh, Carolina chat, huh? Ooh. Ooh la la.
Ooh la
Next,
la.
we have the Buffalo Bills at 10-4 going on the road to face the Cleveland Browns at 3-11. Ladies and gentlemen, Buffalo. Shout out to Buffalo. First of all, thank you guys so much for the number 1 seed. You guys are awesome for helping the cushion, I should say. Get bigger.
The cushion, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to go eat buffalo wings in your honor on Friday, just to show you guys how awesome that is. But that comeback victory was really nice. I was starting to get worried. Patriots going up 21-0. And I forget what that name of that Patriots fan that went viral for. He was talking so much smack, and he forgot like the number 1 rule of football. It's not how you start; it's how you finish.
He finished, yep.
So I'm pretty sure he felt stupid after that. And Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to beat Chicago. I thought he'd play a little bit better than that. Jerry Jeudy should have been benched after having the ball in his hand for a touchdown and then getting it taken away. That was embarrassing.
That was embarrassing. I'm so glad he's no longer here.
Me too. I was just like, bro, like, don't ever in your life raise your voice at Shedeur or anybody on that team ever again. Like, just don't do it. Like, that's terrible, bro. But in this one, it should be a no-brainer. Shout out to Myles Garrett, who's more than likely going to break the sack record this weekend.
You know what's funny is that me and my son were talking about it. Like, he might win Defensive Player of the Year just because of the sack record.
I could see it. And I'm definitely going to pick Buffalo in this one, Libre.
I think it's a clean sweep of Buffalo.
Hot wings. Let's go. The Chargers at 10-4 going on the road at the Jerry World. Dallas Cowboys at 6-7-1. Quick before I forget, they did say in Cleveland last year that there was no chance that the Browns are going to finish 3-14. And if the Browns do finish 3-14 at the season, whose heads are going to roll, Libre? So keep that in the back of your mind, folks, because if it's not Kevin Stefanski, people in Cleveland are going to lose their minds. They're going to riot. So, but back to this. Very disappointing that the Cowboys did not beat the Vikings. They should. I'm not saying it should have been a cakewalk, but George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, I mean, those guys have been tearing defenses apart most of the season except for Denver, and they were not able to do that. They let number 9 literally outshine them in their home turf. I don't know what's happened with Javonte Williams. He's gigantically regressed. He looked like he was going to be the next Saquon Barkley of sorts at the beginning of the season, and it seems like he can't get nothing going. So I don't know if it's because of their offensive line. I know they've had some hurt players, but the knockout punch to the Chargers, as much as I hate you guys, shout out to you for knocking the Chiefs out of playoff contention. Gardner Minshew throwing that pick to Travis Kelce was probably the best. It was probably one of the better highlights of the day, not including the outside of the Broncos. So
how does he throw an interception to Travis Kelce?
I have no idea. I don't even know
why.
You
just said it.
Like, when you watch that play, Derwin James was on Kelce literally even after he broke. So the fact that Gardner Minshew still thought that he could catch that ball was,
yeah.
You guys should have stuck with the previous backup quarterback. I think he played a whole lot better, but I think he retired.
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. No, not Alex Smith. Was it Chad Henne?
Yeah, it was Chad Henne.
So I'm going to say the Chargers win this game.
I think that the Cowboys are going to be coming up, and they're going to play a lot better, especially since it's going to be back at home. They don't want to lose 2 games in a row. And I do feel that Dak and Pickens and CD are going to have a good game against this Chargers D.
Well, they have to, Libre, because their 1% playoff hopes are on the line.
They're fighting for their lives.
Next, we have the New York Jets at 3-11 going on the road to face the New Orleans Saints on 4-10. Got to give credit where credit is due. New Orleans is obviously not going to the Super Bowl this year, but what's his name? The head coach has been doing what he can with Tyler Kellen Moore. Thank you. And again, they deeply, deeply, deeply miss him in Philly. They should not have let him walk. And because
Yeah.
that offense in Philly has not been the same since he left. And you can kind of see like some plays that he ran in Philly and he's running through the Saints. And one interesting thing I read on NFL.com today is to kind of guess what the Saints are going to do with that high round pick. Are they going to gamble it on a quarterback, or are they going to take their chances with Tyler So and see what they got? So it'll be interesting to see. The Jets are the Jets. Leroy and I talked about this earlier. Aaron Glenn should not have been fired, or not have fired. Should not have fired Steve Wilkes. Sorry, because Steve Wilkes was not the problem. He was just the scapegoat. If they keep Aaron Glenn there for another season, it's pretty much going to be the same thing, I think, regardless if Justin Fields comes back or not. So I'm going to say the Saints win this game.
Who that think beat them Saints? Who that? But you know what? One thing is that I'm going to say with this game here, a former Bronco running back is actually going to have a good day against the Jets defense.
Shout out to Devontae Bailey.
Audric Estime.
Yeah.
He's going to have a great running game. And then Vele's going to have, I think he'll do good if they're going to be passing it, but I do think they're going to go run heavy on this game. And I think Audric Estime will have a good game this weekend.
Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings at 6-8 going on the road against the New York Giants at 2-12. I'm just going to keep it short here, Libre. The Vikings defense, I mean, Brian Flores, got to give him credit, man. Those guys have not quit. Even after being eliminated from the postseason, those guys, they're still playing like they're playing for a playoff spot. So I don't think that's going to change. If J.J. McCarthy can kind of keep playing like he played against the Cowboys, which I think he should, because the Giants defense isn't that much, slightly better, I should say, than the Cowboys. So I'm going to say that the Vikings win this game.
I agree. I'm going to go with the Vikings this week since they disappointed me last week and won the game. And the chat was the only one to pick them too.
Yeah. Oof. Kansas City going on the road at 6-8 to play the Tennessee Titans at 2-12. I wonder if Johnny and the guys who live in Tennessee are going to drive out to that game just to boo the Chiefs.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be funny. Again, Gardner Minshew, bridge quarterback, I guess you could say. Excuse me. And the Chiefs are just so lost. Travis Kelce should probably just not even play, to be honest with you. He should just probably call it quits, in all honesty, because especially they're not going to the postseason. So the Chiefs defense is totally regressed. They're not as dominant as they used to be. Chris Jones, I mean, we saw it in that Jacksonville game. The guy's just out there just for a paycheck type of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans win that game, if they kind of just catch the Chiefs off guard. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Tennessee wins this game.
The funniest thing to happen this weekend, Chris Jones goes, "We still have a fighting chance." And then a reporter goes, "Actually, you're eliminated." He goes, "Wait, what?" Like, that was the funniest thing that I saw of the highlights.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Tennessee as well.
You bunch of copycats. Go Kansas City.
Oh, no. They're done. Like, they don't have their leader anymore. He can't make those crazy throws to make like those ridiculous convert the third downs.
Mm-hmm.
So he likes to throw interceptions. So that's what's going to end up happening in this game. Tennessee has caught him at the right time. And Tennessee's going to win this game.
Next, we have the Bengals at 4-10 playing on the road against the Miami Dolphins at 6-8. I'm pretty sure the Dolphins are thawed out by now after being frozen in Pittsburgh last week. It was sad to see Libre Tua not being able to connect with any of his wide receivers through that really ugly interception. Devon Achane, I thought, was going to put the team on his back and run for 1 billion yards. That didn't happen. And Tua's benched, so he's not going to start. It's going to be I forgot the kid's name, but it's all pointing signs to more than likely Tua being thrown out of Miami, which I don't know how they're going to do it.
No, they won't.
I don't know. I read reports that Tua's on his way out. I don't think so, because Tua's still under contract, and I don't think Miami's going to want to eat the dead cap hit.
It'd be the biggest dead cap money out there, like, because they were just talking about it earlier today. it would be like $99 million in dead cap money if they happen to release him.
Mhm.
So, but I did see someone did comment saying, we know what we have in Tua. We just want to see what we have in this kid now. Why not? You're right there at the verge of being eliminated from the playoffs anyways. You're too far out in the hunt to do anything. So might as well see what you can get in this kid, and hopefully that he is a good backup, so that there is that given time that if Tua happens to go out again or whatever, that you know who you have there. Give him some game time experience. Get him out there. Just show it.
Yeah. The embarrassing thing though is that Tua has been delegated down to quarterback 3. So Milf Hunter is ahead of
Yeah.
which is, I mean, it's not to be surprised because they were going to play him for the last 3 games of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Burrow plays this game, if they just trot out Joe Flacco if he's better, or whoever the other backup is. But this is pretty much a meaningless game. This is an early preseason game for both of these teams. Probably throw out players that haven't seen and see who they want to keep for next year and who they don't. But I think the Bengals still are the better team. So I'm going to say Cincinnati.
I agree with Cincinnati.
Although I will say it was really embarrassing seeing the Bengals go out after literally crushing the Ravens 2 weeks ago, Libre, and them going out there and wetting the bed and just playing like that.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Falcons at 5-9, impressive win last week's Thursday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals at 3-11. Hey, maybe something's going on with Kirk Cousins. Maybe this is the awakening they've been waiting for. I mean, him and Kyle Pitts were playing like they knew what they were doing. And the Cardinals are so beat up and they're so lost. I think Jonathan Gannon is going to be one of the coaches on Black Monday that doesn't have a job there anymore. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Kyler Murray, because I think they're just delaying the inevitable, or they just don't know what they want to do with him. But it doesn't feel like Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback next year for the Cardinals. So I'm going to say the Falcons win this game.
The Dirty Birds for me too. And so was the chat.
Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-6 going on the road to face the Detroit Lions at 8-6. So this is more of a must-win for Detroit than it is for Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, even if they lose this game, hypothetically speaking, they're not out of it yet. But the Detroit Lions are trying to keep up with the Bears and the Packers, and that was a big, big loss against the Rams last week for the Lions. And the Steelers, I wasn't expecting them to win like that. If they did win, I thought it was going to be like a field goal or a Hail Mary Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf somewhere down the end of the field type of catch. So this is going to be a really interesting game, to be honest with you. I thought it was probably going to – I'm surprised it didn't get flexed for Sunday Night Football. Yeah, and I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say that the Lions win this game just for the simple fact that offense has to click. Their defense is really sus. Them losing Brian Branch hurts.
Yeah.
If they can get any players back before this game, will definitely be a giant boost. But if that offense cannot punish Aaron Rodgers and that Steelers defense, they're in trouble if they lose that game.
They're at home as well, so I have to give it to them. They're going to want to be there for their fans as well. And they're going to want it a little bit more than I think than the Steelers do. So I'll go with the Lions as well.
Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-12 going on the road against Houston Texans at 9-5. And the funniest meme I've been seeing all day is like, hey, you guys want to see a dead body? And they show it.
Yes. And it keeps on showing the Raiders logo.
Yeah, the Raiders logo. I mean, the most promising thing I saw coming out of the Raiders is like that Geno Smith might be able to start on Sunday. And it's like Geno Smith, if you want to trot out what's his name? Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Who I thought was going to look a whole lot more impressive. So you mean to tell me Kenny Pickett can look impressive against our Broncos defense last week, but this past or 2 weeks ago, and this past week against the Eagles, he forgot his former team, mind you, and he forgot how to play football, and he just completely wet the bed. And like it doesn't matter. That Houston Texans defense is going to eat the Raiders up for lunch. And to be honest, and a point that you made, like the frustration on Max Crosby's face, seems to grow more and more
Yeah.
by the week. And it's starting to look like he's starting to regret his decision to not ask for a trade before the deadline. And it's looking like he doesn't want to be in Las Vegas anymore. And don't be surprised if he requests for a trade or, start making things uncomfortable where he makes the Raiders want to trade him. I know he's under contract, Libre, so that probably does come into question. But, I mean, when you have your star player that frustrated and you have no answers except for 76-year-old Pete Carroll,
Right.
told you guys, he wasn't the answer. He was not the answer. So Texans is my pick.
I think we're all in agreement that the Tejanos are going to win.
And let me just say, I hope that Pete Carroll stays because that means that terribleness is going to continue. So, and I love to see them lose. And I will still admit I was wrong about Ashton Genty. I thought he was going to be a superstar like the next Saquon Barkley, but so far, no. Then Sunday Night Football, Libre, we have New England Patriots at 11-3 going on the road against the Baltimore Ravens at 7-7. I think by now the Patriots are done getting all of the egg out of their face after losing that embarrassingly way against Buffalo. The Ravens, I mean, it was an impressive win against Joe Burrow. I'm not going to give them, I'm not going to take it away from them, but I think that unless Lamar Jackson can Lamar Jackson, and unless Derrick Henry can rechannel his days in Tennessee, I don't see them really beating the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to come out strong and they're going to make a statement, and they're probably going to use the Ravens defense as their spot to stand on. So I'm going to say New England wins that game.
I agree. And then today as well, Lamar didn't even practice. And this is like the 6th week in a row that he had at least one day of the week that he hadn't practiced. So they're saying it was like a precaution, something like that. I don't buy it. There's something that's definitely going on with him. That's why he hasn't been practicing the way he is. And I don't think he's going to be able to do it against this Patriots team. They're just too good.
And then on Monday Night Football, Libre, we have the San Francisco 49ers at 10-4 going on the road against the Indianapolis Colts at 8-6. Got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Grandpa Rivers for going out there and not letting himself get killed. He almost won it for the Colts, and that would have been a big upset, and that would have been a big, much needed W in their pocket. Unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier for them. I'm surprised if they didn't fly out of the West Coast, to be honest with you. But I think that the 49ers, even though that they're banged up as well, they're not going to lay down in their I'm sorry, they're playing in Indianapolis, not in San Francisco. But the 49ers seem to play a little bit better on the road than they do at home this season. And I don't think that they have the defense, the Colts anyway, have the defense to stop Christian McCaffrey from being Christian McCaffrey. So, and Brock Purdy, he's been playing some pretty good football. Got to give him credit. I mean, that game against Carolina was probably his ugliest game so far. But I think that the 49ers are going to win that game.
I agree with you. Gang, Niner gang.
And chat says, okay.
The 49ers.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the picks for the game. Before we head on out of here, at the end of the segment, I did tell you guys that we have an important announcement for you guys. And that important announcement is that Libre and I are going to be taking the next 2 weeks off for the holidays, obviously Christmas and New Year's. So we will be back next year on the 7th.
Next year.
So
chat, I still need you to send me your picks each week if you wanted to count.
Or you're going to fall behind like you did.
It was said that it was going to be done, and it was never done. Yeah. That's why you're down by 10, 15 points now, whatever it is. Send them in. We'll continue to still do it throughout the rest of the year, and then we'll end up coming back. Our first show back would be that very first week right before the wild card round. So please bring those in for the next several weeks.
It's literally a day before my birthday. I just realized that.
Oh, we need to take that day off then too.
We're not.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, oh, snap, it's right. But yeah, that's why we titled this one like a Very Merry Broncmas, because this was like our Christmas episode per se, and it's also our New Year's episode per se. So just keep in mind, we will make announcements on Twitter to remind you guys that we will not be airing these next 2 weeks because we will be taking the holidays off. But some of the other guys, I don't know this off the top of my head, but please subscribe, let yourself be known, because the other guys, our schedules are not all the same. Just because we're not going to be here doesn't mean that the other guys aren't on here. Their streaming schedules are different than ours. They were streaming for us last holiday on Thanksgiving, so shout out to them for coming out here and making time to be with their families and you guys as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, share, comment, and like on this and all the shows here on the network so you never miss out on a single moment of the action. Your support.
But you need to put that notifications on so that you know when we go live, it's popping up on there.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you do all of that, ladies and gentlemen. Also, thank you to our sponsor, which is Dubby. If you want no sugar, no calories, no maltodextrin, no fillers, no artificial colors, Dubby is for you. And also, ladies and gentlemen, if you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your order at checkout. So thank you so much to Dubby for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network, as well as thanks to the guys from the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast for hooking us up with this amazing offer. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also, for any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. I forgot to mention that at the top of the show. And of course, good wishes coming from everybody. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. Woo!
Feliz Navidad, putos. Let's go.
Cabrones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be here this Friday for Viva Los Broncos, and then we will be signing off for 2 weeks at the end until next year. So remember the date. We will be posting out on Twitter that we will be back January 7th for the very first show of Broncos Talk of 2026. Libre and I cannot wait to tell you guys how the Broncos are looking by then and what to expect. Hell, we might not even be playing that week if we play our cards right, Libre. And we'll be hosting the winner of the wildcard
divisional round. Yeah.
So wishful thinking. Hope that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been our pleasure to have been able to sit here and talk to you guys about Broncos Talk stuff this entire year. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for so much for your support. It has been a blast. It has been great. Shout out to everybody here on the network as well. We don't often say this, but the beautiful thing about being here, being a family and doing all this stuff is the fact that we get to spend it not just with our own families as we do, personally, but also when something goes on behind the scenes that you guys don't know or see, we're here for each other. We're here for support. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to Johnny and Isaiah, because this is their dream and they're letting us be a part of it. Thank you to Bronco Libre for coming on here and being on the show. For you guys probably don't know this, but Bronco Libre was only going to be on Viva Los Broncos. So when he decided to come out here and be my co-host for this show, and shout out to Ty the Fantasy Guy. I know he's still hurting. We still have you on our thoughts and prayers. Hopefully you make a full comeback and come back on the network soon. But, thanks to Libre for being here, for stepping up and, for giving a part of his Wednesdays to be here with me. I know I'm taking up too much time because I'm keeping it late for dinner, and I'm really sorry, Libre.
I'm
from the bottom of my heart, bro. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being a part of the show on the network.
Of course.
I thought you said go, Bo, go.
You're supposed to cry, Libre.
Oh, that was the cry. Oh,
that was an ugly face,
Step back, I'm thinking for a vomit.
Or you can vomit, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Bronco Libre. I'm Adan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk here on the Orange and Blue Network. Feliz Navidad. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to everybody. We will see you all on the 7th of January. And as always, go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Let's go.
Broncos Talk.